it seemed like the perfect crime.
I'm going to play Google. Yeah.
Final answer.
And for a while, it looked like it might just have worked.
£500,000. You no longer have that. You just won £1 million!
A cool million pinched from under the nose of one of the country's most popular stars on ITV1's Top Game Show.
You are the most amazing contestant we have ever had!
And right in front of the television cameras.
Diana, come on down! Come on, my darling, come on!
Tonight, for the first time, we can show you how they did it and how they got caught.
Fantastic!
We've got the tapes.
I really haven't got a Scoobies.
We've got the witnesses.
I'm saying, don't you dare, you rob dog.
I think it's Berlin.
And we've got the coughs. This is the dramatic story of the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire major fraud. It's a classic tale of greed and obsession, a desperate desire to win the biggest cash prize on British television by hook or by crook. It was here in this studio that 8 cameras captured every move by the Major, his wife and their accomplice, while 21 microphones recorded every single guilty cough. We've isolated their soundtrack so that you can hear them clearly, just as the jury did during the trial. Tonight, we show you the evidence and reveal the major fraud. For the Ingrams, Millionaire's been a family obsession, with Diana's brother Adrian the first to get the bug. A contestant on the show 4 times, he finally makes it to the hot seat.
Thank God.
You bet I do.
Having coasted through 10 questions, he comes unstuck at 64,000 and bows out graciously with a cheque for £32,000.
We're going with your dad's 50% hunch.
Yeah, and mine slightly more than 50%, but not much. 52%.
Final answer.
Yes, final answer.
It's the wrong answer.
No.
Adrian, after all this time.
Oh, no.
It's September in America. It's September in Canada. Oh, I tell you what, though, it's been great to have you. I've really enjoyed having you. I'm so pleased to have you here. At last, after over 2 years of trying, Adrian Pollock goes back to the Vale of Glamorgan to tell his family Daddy's got £32,000. Give him a big hand.
Little Sister's next on, and with husband Charles Ingram, appears on the couples show.
From Wiltshire, Brian Downs from Somerset. Now, this is Diana Ingram, a nursery nurse from Swindon. Watching at home is husband Charles.
A bit of brotherly coaching pays
Up
off.
in the audience is her brother Adrian.
And after some 300 phone calls to the show, Diana Ingram's in the hot seat at last.
At the moment. Have a look at question number 11. It's for £64,000. This would take you 1 correct answer and £32,000 past the total your brother got. And you have got a lifeline. Have a look. This is question number 11. You might as well play it, whatever. You can't lose on this. You've got £32,000. Who wrote the nonsense poem The Hunting of the Snark? G.K. Chesterton, Hilaire Belloc, Edward Lear, Lewis Carroll.
Well, I thought it was Edward Lear before they all came up.
Yes.
And now Lewis Carroll's come up, and he might have written it too.
She equals her brother's performance.
I'm going to play Edward Lear, final answer, yes.
Edward Lear, final answer.
Yes.
You had £32,000. You kept back 1 lifeline. You desperately wanted to beat your brother. You've stayed in exactly the same place as your brother. You're still on £32,000.
And falls somewhat less graciously at the same hurdle.
Who was fastest? Charles Ingram in 3.9.
Finally, after 2 failed attempts, Charles Ingram makes it to the hot seat.
£1 million.
Is the Pope Catholic?
The most infamous episode of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire is about to begin.
I really warmed to him, yeah. He had this terrible peer pressure in that his brother-in-law and his wife both had won £32,000. They were both quite sort of... They seemed to be quite obsessed with the show and getting on it and doing well. They both had got on it and done well. I mean, she went away very disappointed with £32,000. So I remember talking to her in the bar afterwards, and I said, great, congratulations. She said, only 32. And I said to her, it's a huge amount of money. She went, yes, but I should have done more. I should have beaten my brother and all this. 15 questions, 3 lifelines. He gives me all 15 correct answers. He wins £1 million. Let's play Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? OK, Charles, question number 1 for £100. Here it is. On which of these would you air laundry? Clothes dog, clothes horse, clothes rabbit, clothes pig.
That's a clothes horse, Chris.
It's the right answer. You got £100.
The first few questions are easy enough for the Major.
So worried. OK, you got £100. Question number 2 for £200. Here it is. What name is given to a person who is against increasing the powers of the European Union? Eurosceptic, Eurostar, Eurotrash, Eurovision.
Eurosceptic, Chris.
Right answer, £200. OK, number 3 is worth £300. Here it comes. What is butterscotch? Shortbread. Pavement game. Garden flower. Brittle toffee.
But some staff are concerned as soon as the Major takes the hot seat.
It's the right answer. You got £300.
Diana Ingram's younger brother Marcus Powell is also at the studio.
Just after recording had started, probably about 15-20 minutes into it really, and he was outside the studio on his mobile phone, which mobile phones aren't allowed sort of in the studio area. So I went up to the production office where I informed Chris Burke.
I just approached him and said, excuse me, saying, I can't have you in and out of the studio using a phone. Either if you want to make a phone call, I can get someone to escort you off site and you can make as many phone calls as you wish, or would you please go back in the studio, take your seat.
When I went back downstairs about 10-15 minutes later, he was back outside on his mobile again, and as soon as he saw me he went straight back in to the studio.
At which point I asked one of our security guards to keep an eye on him for the rest of the recording, and to the best of my knowledge that's exactly what he did.
Police believe 4 vibrating phone pages could have signalled the right answer.
I think that the question and the options would have been transmitted via Marcus Powell's open mobile phone within the VIP area. I believe that the person at the other end, with access to research material, could then signal the wearer of those pages with the correct answer, A, B, C or D, depending on what part of the body the page was secreted, and then that person could either signal Charles Ingram, or indeed Charles Ingram may have been wearing the pages himself.
Marcus Powell's never been charged with any offence. So for now, Charles Ingram's on his own, and the £500 question's one he's bound to get right.
Question number 4 then for £500. No problem so far. Here it is. Which of these is the nickname for a famous Scottish army regiment?
You ought to know this wrong.
Embarrassing if you get it wrong though. Charles, Major, which of these is the nickname for a famous Scottish army regiment? Black Cat, I think you're going to know this. Black Widow. Black Sea. Black Watch.
Black Watch, Chris.
Not Black Widow.
No, definitely not.
Black Cat? It's the right answer. You got £500.
Question 5's the last time the Major can go home with nothing.
The Normans, who invaded and conquered England in 1066, spoke which language? German, Norwegian, French, Danish. The Normans.
But he's no intention of leaving empty-handed.
No, I'll go with French.
Final answer?
Yeah, final answer.
It's the right answer. You got £1,000.
On the next question, he's struggling and there's no one to help.
Too much knowledge.
Remember the family honour, Charles.
Absolutely.
Right, you've got £1,000. You've still got all your lifelines. You've got 50-50, phone a friend and ask this audience. Have a look at number 6. It's worth £2,000. I bet you know this one. In Coronation Street, Who is? I bet you don't. Who is? When have you last seen Coronation Street?
I've never watched it. I mean, I've seen it sort of in the
Charles,
telly
it's been
in
on for
passing.
40 years.
I know. But, sorry.
Okay, no, have a look at it. Have a look at it. Work out what you want to do. In Coronation Street, who is Audrey's daughter? Janice, Gail, Linda, Sally.
I really haven't got a Scoobies.
Now, you've got the audience. You can ask the audience. You can phone a friend. You can go 50-50.
I'm not sure.
50-50, probably if you've got two left and you've still never heard of either of them, might not be much use. You've got to phone a friend. You can ask the audience.
Yeah, Chris, I'd like to ask the audience.
Okay, audience, let's see if you're up on your soaps. We had Coronation Street here only a couple of weeks ago, who raised well over £100,000 for charity. Let's see if you know all about them. In Coronation Street, this is the question. In Coronation Street, who is Audrey's daughter? Now, A on your keypad is Janice, B is Gail, C is Linda, D is Sally. A, B, C or D? All vote now.
He's using a lifeline far too early in the game.
Oh, thank you.
89% saying Gail, 3% Linda, 4% Sally, 4% Janice. It's quite high, it's very high, but it's your call.
It's a tricky one.
Embarrassing if it was wrong.
I'll go it would, yeah. But it wouldn't be my fault at home and work, so I'll go for. I'll follow the audience, please. I can't remember what they said. I think it was Gail.
It's said Gail.
Yeah,
yes.
Gail. Okay, right.
89% of them said Gail.
I'll run with Gail. Yeah.
Even though you never heard of her.
Never heard of her.
Or seen her.
No, afraid not. Sorry, Gail, but I haven't.
Okay. Final
I'll go with Gail. Yeah.
We got there. £2,000.
And the next question's also a struggle.
Have a look at number 7. We're getting up there. This is for £4,000. You're 9 away from $1 million. Have a look. The River Foyle is found in which part of the United Kingdom? England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales. What are you thinking?
I've never heard of it.
With just £2,000 in the pot, Charles Ingram's having to use his second lifeline.
Well, the lifelines are there to help, so I think I'll phone a friend, please.
Okay. Who are you going to phone?
Gerald.
Gerald, tell him the question, 4 possible answers. See what he comes up with. You've still got a 50-50 if you need it later. Mm-hmm. You can walk away with 2,000. See what happens.
Okay.
Where's Gerald?
South Wales.
He wasn't the finest contestant we've ever had. He was struggling quite a bit, actually. So he got up to £4,000 by the end of the first night and used 2 lifelines. So we knew he was coming back the following evening, but expected him to last just a couple of questions or so and then be gone.
Final answer.
Final answer.
It's the right answer. You got £4,000. Good play. And yes, I have fished there. Okay, Charles has got...
God, no.
Oh, God, no.
To come back to home.
As the rollover contestant, Charles Ingram has a few precious hours to come up with a plan. He'll clearly struggle on his own.
Away from the next big milestone.
If you lose 2 lifelines, 1 lifeline left, you've struggled to that point. You know, you might be going home with 16,000, maybe 32. There's no way that you'd expect him to stay there for very much more than 2 or 3 questions, unless, you know, an incredibly lucky run of questions. But, you know, having sat through many hundreds of programmes, that wouldn't be what you'd expect to happen, really.
He'd floundered through, but I think he had 1 lifeline left. And I remember us saying, God, that poor bloody Major, you know, he's got as much chance of getting the 32,000, you know, as going to the moon in a rocket. I mean, there was just no way this guy could possibly go much further. And I could see his wife sort of sitting up there behind him, sort of frowning at him. I thought, oh, God, and he's got his little girls and his promise and ponies and all this. OK, fingers crossed for next time. Earlier on tonight...
But there's an unlikely saviour on the way.
Army Major Charles Ingram here at the moment is on £4,000. And the good news, he still has 1 lifeline remaining. We're back Tuesday night. Let's see who'll be joining us then. Maurice Braun, Tequin Whittock, John Norton.
That night, the Ingrams call Tequin Whittock, another Millionaire regular. And it's at this point he joins their scam. The major fraud is about to begin.
looking forward to it.
As the show begins again the next day, Charles Ingram and his co-conspirators have got a new plan: to cheat, and it's going to work better than any of them dared imagine.
Hello and welcome to Tuesday's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? We kick off tonight with a contestant returning from Saturday. Charles Ingram is here in the hot seat, a position he may well have been in before. Because you're a military man.
Indeed. Yeah.
Morning, Major. Morning, Faulty. Have you got a strategy?
Well, I have actually. I have got a strategy. I was a bit defensive on the last show. You know, I sort of started talking myself out of answers that, frankly, I should have known and did know. So this time I'm going on the counter-attack, and I'm going to...
We're going on the counter-attack tonight, everybody.
And I'm going to
So
be a
what
bit
does that
more
mean,
positive.
then?
And, well, basically it means I'm going to be a bit more sort of... show a bit more self-commitment. You know, I'm going to... If I feel I know the answer, I'm going to go for it.
Well, you'll blow the lot then, Charles.
Well, you only get in the chair once, don't you? So you
Remember the
might as
ponies.
well make the most of it.
In court, Diana Ingram claimed she'd never met Tekwin Whittock or even knew what he looked like. Yet throughout the night, she's caught on camera apparently looking straight at him. Sat right behind the Major with the other fastest finger first contestants, Whittock's been strangely quiet during the day.
Well, I think he'd been on 3 times at least before, and he was an old millionaire hand, and we were new.
Did he strike you as a determined contestant?
He struck me as being very focused, so he wasn't in a chatty mood, I have to say. Perfectly polite and pleasant, but I think he was focused on the evening in front of him.
Charles Ingram, Major Charles, is here in the studio playing for real. Now, right now, he's got 8 questions to go until the million. He's still got 1 lifeline intact. He's got that 50-50. Charles, lots of luck tonight. Let's play Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
First question of the night, and they're cheating from the off.
Right, this is where we put the strategy to the test then. You got £4,000, OK? You can obviously walk away with that at the top of the show and do a runner, but I know you're itching to get up a bit further. Let's have a look at question number 8. You've got a 50-50. This would bring you £8,000 if you gave me the right answer. Here it is. Who was the second husband of Jacqueline Kennedy? Who was the second husband of Jacqueline Kennedy? Adnan Khashoggi, Ronald Reagan, Aristotle Onassis, Rupert Murdoch.
Right, OK. I'm not certain.
It's a first chance to test out their secret weapon.
I would have thought that it would be Aristotle Onassis.
That cough's from Tekwin Whittock. You're hearing it in isolation as the jury did, much clearer than it would sound in any broadcast. And that's the plan, to cough after Ingram reads out the right answers.
On him, and Jacqueline Kennedy wasn't mentioned, so Adnan Khashoggi doesn't ring any bells at all. Aristotle Onassis rings a bell or two.
The Major seeks further confirmation from his accomplice.
One of my sub-strategies is to take my time.
Oh, you've got a sub-strategy
Absolutely,
as well,
and
mate.
sub-strategies. Yeah.
OK.
So I'll just rethink this one for a moment.
Okay.
I'm pretty confident it's Aristotle Onassis.
And after that, Ingram's completely confident.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Aristotle Onassis.
You're a wild and crazy man, Major. Final answer?
You only live once. Yeah, final answer.
Still very happy with the strategy?
No, but it's too late, so...
It's the right answer. You got £8,000.
My attention was first drawn to Major Ingram at around the £8,000 question when our floor assistant said to me, there's something strange going on. And that was really the first time that I'd focused at what was going on the set.
You got £8,000.
Yeah.
You still kept that lifeline, 50-50. You're 2 away from an important milestone of 32,000. And it's actually important in more ways than one. Let's have a look, though, at question number 9 first. Emmental is a cheese from which country? France, Italy, Netherlands, Switzerland.
This is the only time all night the Major gets the right answer without a little help from his friends.
Right, counter-attack, think counter-attack. I'd like to go for Switzerland, but I need to just think about it for a moment. And when you're up here, you know, your sort of doubts are multiplied tenfold. So I think it's Switzerland.
You got a 50-50, that helps.
Again, he lists the other answers just in case, but there's no need for a cough from Whittock.
It could be France, I suppose. Then again, it could be Italy, so... or maybe it's the Netherlands.
Right. Yes. That's sort of how the question works, Charles.
No, I know.
You got a 50-50 if it helps you.
Just trying.
It's worth 16,000. You lose 7,000 if you give me a wrong answer, and the girls will be back to 3 on a pony.
So, no cough.
100 times, Emmental. I'm sure it's Switzerland. I'll
the Major knows he's right.
Yeah, Switzerland.
Final answer.
Yeah, final answer.
Why did you think it was Switzerland?
Well, I just recall Emmental coming from Switzerland. I mean, I've eaten it a lot, and I'm sure it had "made in Switzerland" or something written on it. Swiss made.
Yes. I don't know what your strategy and sub-strategy is, but it's working. You've just got £16,000.
Even without the coughs, his habit of reading all the answers sets antennae twitching.
The acoustics within what I call the bowl of the studio are such that the sound is pretty much kept within it, and I was watching a monitor just on the other side, so at this point there was absolutely no suggestion of any coughing or any noises whatsoever. This was just simply me now focused on the monitor but kind of removed from the production of the programme. I'd become so suspicious that something untoward was going on, that I then said to our floor manager that I wanted to find out whether we could search Major Ingram when he came off the set.
My boss, Adrian Wolf, came running across the studio, which in itself was a sight, and he said, "We have a problem." And I didn't know what quite he meant, but having then been told that he believed there was something funny going on with the contestant in the hot seat, we then concentrated on that, and I was by a monitor, so I was able to see the way the man was playing the game, and also I was able to stand behind the cameras looking directly at him and see for myself that it was unusual, if not completely strange, the way he was attempting to answer the questions and the way he finally chose an answer. It was well out of any understanding or experience I'd ever had.
£32,000, the third question of the night, and a critical moment in the Major fraud.
Have a look, this is it. Who had a hit UK album with Born to Do It, released in 2000? Coldplay, Top Loader, A1, Craig David.
I'm not sure, I'm afraid. Born to Do It. I vaguely recall it. I'm sure I've heard of the title, but I don't honestly know for sure.
Disaster. The Major doesn't know the answer, and neither does Whittock. The plan's out the window.
I think it's A1.
It's not.
You got a 50-50.
Craig David, I just can't. I don't think I've never heard of Craig David, to be honest.
Does wife Diana Ingram know he's wrong?
Coldplay I've never heard of. And Top Loader is it's part of a rifle, so I don't think it's that.
It's also a brazier.
Is it? All right, well, thanks for that. I don't know.
Is that another anxious look to Tequin Whittock?
Sadly, I'll have to take 50-50.
Sadly, that's what they're for.
It is.
Right, computer, take away 2 wrong answers. Leave Charles the right answer and 1 other wrong answer.
That doesn't help me at all, actually, but,
And again, it seems she's looking to Whittock.
The 2 answers left were Craig David, who he admitted to have never heard of, and A1, who he had been gunning for all along. And when those 2 answers were left, he said, well, that doesn't give me any help. Which, hang on a second, you've been saying A1 all along, and you didn't know Craig David, so why haven't you now gone, it must be A1 then? So, no, the man was playing a different game to anything I've ever seen.
I think it's A1.
The Major's set on the wrong answer and needs help, but there's none coming from Whittock.
I've just never heard of Craig David, so...
Trust me, he does exist. He's quite well known.
Unaware her every move's recorded, it looks like Diana Ingram's preparing to help out. If so, she's taking a massive gamble.
Who had a hit UK album with Born to Do It, released in 2000? A1 and Craig David. How old are your daughters?
11, 9 and 6. Yeah.
They'll all know this.
They probably will.
They will.
They'll be at home screaming the answer now. Craig David. A1.
His wife seems to check the studio televisions. Diana Ingram's not on screen, but the cameras are still rolling.
You've got £16,000.
I think I'll go for A1.
It's up to you. I can't influence your judgment at all.
You only get in the chair once.
She seems unable to hide her frustration. She must know he's wrong.
Well, you are if you haven't got a clue, but it's up to you. One of those is worth 32,000. One of them would cost you 15,000.
It's the second answer he wants.
A1 or Craig David.
Diana coughs twice. Is that a clue?
I'm going to go for A1. Yep.
Has he heard her? Maybe not.
Final answer.
No.
Are we on the main strategy or the sub-strategy? I've rather lost the plot here of your campaign.
Slight detour at the moment.
Yeah, okay. It's a lot of money to lose. You don't have to play it. You could take 16,000.
It seems he's heard all right. Here comes the U-turn.
I mean, I'm 80% of the time I'm wrong when I guess, so... No, I'll go Craig David. Yeah.
Final answer.
I'm going to guess Craig David.
Final answer.
Final answer.
But his wife's been spotted, and the Ingrams are in trouble.
We'll take a break. Join us again in a couple of minutes for the second part of tonight. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Don't go away.
On the £32,000 question, it looks like Diana's taken a massive gamble to help her husband cheat, but she's been spotted.
Mrs. Ingram developed quite a nasty cough on that particular question. The Major seemed to be struggling to answer it. And there was enough concern for production to decide that they needed to stop the recording, to rewind the tape, to look back at it.
So even at that stage, third question in, on the night, the recording is stopped because there's concerned suspicion?
Yes, there was some cause for concern.
But not enough. The team let the show continue, and no one's yet spotted Whittock.
Welcome back to the second part of tonight's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire this Tuesday night.
There was something in the air that was all a bit strange, and when I did come down to the studio, the crew, some of them were just sort of shaking their heads going, something's definitely going on.
Just before the break, Major Charles Ingram here was on £16,000. He said, his own words, he'd never heard of Craig David. Used a 50-50, Coldplay and Top Loader went. He then went for A1. Then because, I actually rather lost the plot of his thinking then, but basically because he reckons most of his guesses are 80% wrong, he changed his mind, knowing he'd lose £15,000 if getting the wrong answer, and went for Craig David, who he'd never heard of. You just won £32,000. Oh, you did that! I have no idea, Charles. Brilliant. So your strategy and your sub-strategy...
Just go for it.
It somehow worked. I have no
Absolutely.
idea how you got to choose a man with lots of money at stake who you'd never heard of.
Neither have I. I don't think I'll be doing that again. All right.
A few of the Millionaire team know something's wrong, but can't quite work out what.
He would make some humorous comment about each answer, how it couldn't be that because he didn't know it, or it wasn't that, or he was certain it wasn't that. But he was doing that to all of them. And then finally plumping for an answer that he disregarded sort of 3 efforts ago or 3 mentions before. And so it was very odd. It wasn't the way anybody has ever played the game or before or since in any of the territories in the experience I've had.
You've never seen anything like this anywhere in the world?
No, not at all. No, this is not a gambler's way of playing. It wasn't somebody who knew the answer. There was no smile of recognition when an answer came up, when you can see somebody knows the answer beforehand.
You've got your way up to that, £32,000. Don't want to give you that, but you got that basically. You can hold it. You want to hold it yourself? You want to...
I'd like to hold it. Yes, please.
Like to hold it, okay.
Yeah. My wife didn't hold it, and she blew out at 32,000. So.
Right now, you see, this is interesting because your wife is sitting up there in the audience, shaking her head because she doesn't understand how you got to £32,000 either.
No, neither do I.
She was on the show quite a long time back now. She also got to £32,000. Now, you said when you came on, whatever happens, somehow I have to get the same amount as my wife.
Yeah.
And you frankly didn't believe you would do it, did you?
I didn't, no.
And frankly, Charles, nor did I.
Yeah.
He's equalled his wife's win, but the 3 cheats have their eyes on a much bigger prize.
That check for at least 32,000. Wouldn't it be a jolly wheeze, though, if you got more than your wife?
Wouldn't it
Would that cause a certain amount of friction? What do you think? Just looking up there.
Yeah, probably, actually. You know, just a little bit, yeah, just a little bit.
She's doing that shaking head, but the eyes are saying, yeah.
She's very much the boss, so, yeah.
And the boss again glances towards the hired help.
My reading of him was that he was a sort of a mad major, you know, brave as a lion, but completely balmy. You know, probably a bit thick, but very, you know, tim but nice sort of thing. I mean, dim but nice. And I thought he was like that. And I mean, he was extraordinary to be opposite. I mean, he was amazing to be opposite. He was fascinating. Question number 11. You might as well play this. You've got no lifelines, but you can't lose on this. You get 32,000 anyway. Have a look at question number 11. It's worth 64,000. You might as well play it. Here it is. Gentlemen versus Players was an annual match between amateurs and professionals of which sport?
The 3 conspirators are now playing for serious money.
Of which sport? Lawn tennis, rugby union, polo, cricket. Now it's worth £64,000.
I mean, it could be any of them, really. But I think it's cricket. But I'm not sure. But I think it's cricket because I'm
And
sure
the
I've
cough
seen a
from
print.
Whittock lets him know he's right.
Yeah, a picture, a print on either cigarette cards or you know, the old cigarette cards you used to get, or my, I don't know, grandfather's study wall or something. I think that's Gentlemen versus Players. But I'm not sure.
And that was a cricket. They were playing cricket.
I think so.
Lawn tennis, rugby union, polo, cricket.
I think it might be cricket.
It's worth 64,000. You might as well play it.
Indeed.
Take your time. Have a good look.
It could be lawn tennis. It might have been lawn tennis. Maybe it was polo. I'm doing this again, sorry.
As the 2 men become more confident in their system, the coughs become more frequent.
I don't think it's rugby union. I don't think it's lawn tennis.
Again, Mrs. Ingram looks towards Whittock.
Polo. No, I just don't recall any connection, but I've heard of it definitely, but I don't remember any connection with polo, so I think if I had to guess, and I can, I think I'd take cricket.
The ever-helpful Whittock, just 10 feet away, is there again.
It's not fair on everyone else. I'll go for cricket.
It doesn't matter about everybody else. They'll play anyway, don't worry. You'll play? Final
cricket.
answer.
Cricket, final answer.
You got £32,000. Your wife came and she won £32,000. You just won £64,000. Give us that check back. Come on. Thank you. Whoa! For a man who'd never ever heard of Craig David, you've done pretty well. Have a look at that one. Take that one. 64. You're shaking. Major, you're shaking, Major. No good in a firefight, Major. You're shaking.
No wonder he's shaking. Charles Ingram's carrying out major fraud in front of a live studio audience. But Whittock's coughing is now drawing attention.
After probably about 5-10 minutes, he seems to be coughing all the time. It's just strange because he didn't cough before the show in rehearsals. And he didn't cough after the show when he was in the chair.
Even those who haven't noticed the coughing smell a rat.
Relatively early on, halfway through, I thought there might be something dodgy going on. So what I did was I looked at his face. I assumed that it was going to be a visual clue of some sort, a visual code. So he would have a member of the audience somewhere in his eye line that would be giving him some subtle coded indication. Not a wink. I mean, it's, remember, it's there in the light. The audience is in half light. So, it would be, like that for A or that for B or something fairly subtle. So question after question, I was locked onto his face, but I couldn't detect anything that he didn't seem to be systematically looking at the crowd.
But even during the recording, even during the game, you were pretty sure that something untoward was going on.
Yeah.
You were that convinced?
Yeah, absolutely. I said to Marilyn, and she felt the same.
Now, you've got £64,000. Next one would be for £125,000. Obviously, you've got no lifelines left. And you would drop £32,000 if you gave me a wrong answer. You clearly do not have to play this question, but you might like the look of it. Have a look at it. It's number 12 of a possible 15. The Ambassadors in the National Gallery is a painting by which artist? Van Eyck, Holbein, Michelangelo, Rembrandt. It's worth £125,000.
The pressure's rising as the money goes up. Just 5 coughs so far from Tegwin Whittock, but all subtlety will soon disappear as greed takes over.
Just look at the check.
Good look. You can walk away with that check, but have a good look at this question. Have you got
Well, I think it was either Holbein or Rembrandt. I have seen it. I think it was Holbein.
Here it comes. Another guilty cough from Whittock. Diana Ingram seems nervous.
Sure it was Holbein. God damn it. So I just rethink this.
She looks towards Tegwin Whittock.
You've got 64,000. You've got no lifelines. You can walk away with that sum of money.
Down payment on a house. Yeah, I think I'm going to go for Holbein. Holbein.
There's no longer a decent pause between the coughs and Ingram choosing his answer.
Holbein, yeah. Holbein.
You just won £125,000.
The team believe that to escape scot-free with the cash, this is when Charles Ingram should take the money and run.
You were struggling more at £200 than you are now.
I think if they bailed out 125,000, I don't think any of us would be sat here. I think it's just pushed that little bit too far. And as I said, every step of the way up, there's more evidence that you've got to argue away one way or another. And it may well be easy to argue away 3 questions with a cough. But, when you're talking about 17, 18 persistent coughs at specific points that appear to be leading somebody, I think you back yourself into a corner.
But the 2 men can't resist temptation. It's to be the undoing of all of them.
I think it was when it was getting on for sort of serious money, probably when we sort of got to 125. I think that's probably when, I definitely thought something very strange was going on.
You're seeing something happen in front of you. You think that there might be collusion going on, you think there might be cheating going on. You're not 100% sure. It's difficult. It certainly is not my call to stop the programme. It had been stopped once already.
I was alerted by the sound supervisor, Kevin Duff, and by our director to listen out, because on the microphones they could hear some coughing going on. And obviously in the studio there's always spluttering and bits of coughing going on, but this seemed more systematic, so I listened out. And I was directed to look in the audience, but I soon realised that it was actually coming from another contestant.
When you hear the coughs which are adjacent to the right answers, when you first hear them, you're looking to see if the pattern stays. You know, if it's a pattern that's going to be repeated and sustained throughout the series of questions. But after a while, when it is, your reaction on hearing it is one of humour. I mean, you start to laugh, really. When the coughs come up right on cue, you think, gosh, there it is again.
Have a look at number 13. It is worth $250,000. If you give me a wrong answer to this question, if you decide to play it, you don't have to, you've got no lifelines, you would lose £93,000, which is fairly sobering. But
Chris Tarrant clearly reminding the Major, who with his wife has debts of more than £50,000, that the stakes are high.
Away from £1 million. It's a thing I do a lot. I sort of repeat it as the money goes up and up and up. And with the Major, I constantly seem to be bringing him back to earth. And you'd see him go, yes, right, yes, thanks for that. Anyway, ignore all that and carry on. Have a look at number
The next question would form a key part of the prosecution case at their trial.
This is for £250,000. What type of garment is an Anthony Eden? Overcoat, hat, shoe, tie.
Tequin Whittock is caught on tape getting the answer from his unsuspecting neighbour. Armed with the answer, Whittock's ready for action.
I think it's a hat. I mean, again, you know, I'm not sure, but I think it's a hat. I think it's one of those really sort of tall hats that sort of came into fashion, presumably when he was Prime Minister.
2 coughs, and he's not finished yet.
Okay.
Well, this is the famous hat question, of course. What type of garment is an Anthony Eden? And here we've got Chris Tarrant going through the various possibilities. An overcoat, a shoe, a hat, of course, which is the right answer, or a tie. And what we hear at the same time as this is conversation among the FFF contestants, where one man with a Cockney accent, Mr. Lucy, Thomas Lucy, in fact confirms that it is a hat. Just after he confirms it's a hat, you hear Ingram say to Tarrant, I think it's a hat, and of course Whittock's there right on cue.
But his unwitting helper remembers things differently.
A question had been asked and the answer had been given, and as I turned round to look towards my son, Tequin Whittock said to me, did you know that answer? And I said, yes, I did.
Why do you think he asked you that question?
I don't know. I think it was probably just because I turned round and I was sort of looking his way just for something to say.
It's worth £250,000.
He continues his private conversation with Whittock.
I'm sure it's a hat. Am I sure?
Well, he's sure now.
Yeah, hat. It's a hat.
You lose £93,000 if you're wrong, Charles.
Going for hat.
Final answer.
Yep, final answer.
You just won £250,000.
3 coughs in the one question. Tequin Whittock and Charles Ingram are overdoing things.
It was easy for me to realise that it was Tequin doing the coughing, because he was only about 10 or 15 feet away from me, directly in front of me. And the way he was coughing was rather bizarre. He was actually turning towards the set to cough. So at one point he was chatting to the contestant to his left in a whispered way, and then he would turn round a full 90 degrees with his head, cough towards the hot seat, and then turn away again.
But Wittock's about to risk everything as the Major nearly blows the lot.
You got $250,000. It sounds strange. You've got $250,000. The next question is worth £500,000.
As Chris Tarrant asks the penultimate question, Charles Ingram suddenly makes a big mistake.
Have a look at question 14. Baron Haussmann is best known for his planning of which city? Rome, Paris, Berlin, Athens.
I think it's Berlin.
It's not.
I think.
Charles, 10 minutes ago you thought it was A1.
I think it's Berlin.
Take your time. It's worth $500,000. It's a huge amount of money to win. It's also a huge amount of money to drop.
And Haussmann's it's more a German name than an Italian name, and Parisian name and Athens name.
He quickly rules out the other options.
Something, sort of likely to be at home. I'm really not sure. I'm never sure. If I was at home, I'd be saying Berlin. If I was watching this on TV.
He forgets the system and fails to check slowly round the answers.
It's worth £500,000. You dropped 218,000 if you're wrong. You've got $250,000. It's your call. Take as long as you need. Baron Haussmann is best known for his planning of which city? Rome, Paris, Berlin, Athens.
He's giving Wittock no opportunity to help.
I think it's Berlin.
Tekwin Wittock risks everything.
And he's going for Berlin, you can hear he's going for Berlin, and then all of a sudden you hear a cough, which is now acknowledged to be from Wittock, which is, no! And the no is partly in whisper, but it's a loud no like that. When I say partly in whisper, it's not no, it's no! And it comes right on the heels of the cough. So, in a way, what the cougher's doing there, what Mr. Wittock's doing there, is breaking the code, the agreed code. But he can only do that by putting a no there with his cough. Otherwise, Ingram would interpret the cough as meaning Berlin is the right answer.
Moments later, is this a new signal? The effect of the nose blow seems immediate.
There's a cough, there's a no, and then just after that there's a little series of nose blowing as well. The nose blowing only ever happened at that point. And it's only my subjective opinion, but I think if you've got a system, you've got to have an all-stop signal, because otherwise you could end up in a very difficult position. And I think that was probably part of their all-stop signal.
The all-stop was the nose blowing?
I think so.
And of course the word no.
Well, that helps.
I've got to rethink it. I don't think it's Paris.
Just as he's dismissing Paris, Tekwin Wittock's cough stops him mid-sentence.
I don't think it's Athens. I'm sure it's not Rome.
He was convinced that it was Berlin, prompted by the fact that he believed that Baron Haussmann was a German name, and kept focusing on Berlin. I mean, he went on and on and on about Berlin. And then he says something to the effect of, but it could be Paris, and then gets a cough. Now, he freezes. He freezes for the moment. He obviously completely regains his thoughts, because I think that he is relatively convinced himself that it is, the answer is Berlin.
I'm sure it's not Rome.
Ingram now makes another U-turn.
I'd have thought it's Berlin, but there's a chance it's Paris. I'm not sure. Got to think. Think. I've read this. I think it's Berlin.
Is that the all-stop signal again? Diana stares in Whittock's direction.
Could be Paris.
They're pushing their luck.
You don't have to play this question.
A fastest finger first contestants about to link the Major's answers to Whittock's coughs.
It suddenly occurs to me that this bloke's being helped out here. And as soon as I have that thought, almost as soon, it's the bloke who's coughing. You know, this is what's going on in my mind. It wasn't a long process, it was almost immediate. It's the bloke who's coughing. You know, is he sending him signals? So I've immediately alighted on Tecwen Whittock. And during the course of that question, lo and behold, he does come right round the houses, goes for the answer that he originally discarded, and Tecwen Whittock did cough in the right place.
I think it is Paris. Yeah, I'm going to play.
Ingram responds to the cough immediately.
Hang on, no, where are we?
Don't worry, I'm talking to myself as we go.
That's fine. Right. You've got £250,000.
Yeah.
You've got no lifelines.
Yeah.
If you give me a wrong answer, you still got 32,000. That's guaranteed. Whatever. If you give me a wrong answer here, you've got 218,000 lost. You lose 218,000. If you give me a right answer, it's worth $500,000. You don't have to play it.
Okay.
This is the question. Baron Haussmann is best known for his planning of which city? Rome, Paris, Berlin, or Athens? It's worth £500,000.
Charles Ingram checks for a fourth and final time.
It's either Berlin or Paris. And I think it's Paris.
Cue Whittock.
Yeah, I'm going to play. I'm going to play Paris.
You were convinced it was Berlin?
I know. I think I was wrong. I'm going to go for Paris.
Final answer.
Final answer.
You had £250,000. You did not need to play this question. You thought it was Berlin, Berlin, Berlin. You changed your mind to Paris. That brought you £500,000.
Yes! The Major clearly delighted after so nearly blowing it all on Berlin. It takes 4 guilty coughs from Tecwen Whittock to get him there. Yet still, most of the audience and the man sat opposite him are unaware he's cheating.
Unbelievable. I had no idea of anything going on at all. To be honest, once it gets up to the big money, I've got like a very, very concentrated job to do. So really, short of somebody, you know, sending up smoke signals or lighting a bonfire in the audience, I mean, I would not pick anything up normally. I'm this close to someone, I'm eyeball to eyeball. So no, I'm not aware of anything at all. And I was genuinely amazed when I came off air that there was, you know, murmurings and suspicion that something might have happened that night that was illegal. Right. Are you all right?
No, definitely not.
That's the reality of what you've done. £500,000. Take it.
The cheating Major's still in the hot seat. He's risking everything to win his million.
Probably just about the whole of the United Kingdom. We're going to look at the £1 million question, which we haven't done very often since we started 3 years ago. You don't have to play this question. I think you know the routine by now, but let me make sure you're absolutely aware and clear of your situation. You've got £500,000. Question number 15. If you go for it and give me the right answer, you win £1 million. You'll be the third person in Britain to win the million since we came on air. If you go for it and give me a wrong answer, Charles, you lose £468,000.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, you're guaranteed 32,000. That's a long time ago now. Question number 10. We're about to look at question number 15. You do not have to play this question. It's worth £1 million. You've got 500,000. This is it. Question number 15 of 15 on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. A number 1 followed by 100 zeros is known by what name? Google, Megatron, Gigabit, Nanomole. It's worth £1 million.
The cheats are about to be rumbled.
I'm entirely focused on Tecwen Whittock.
He's sitting over there in
He's
the
sitting
third.
over there at seat 3. I know what the answer to the question is before the 4 answers come up. So I can really study the process between these two people.
Mega Nano.
Oh God, don't start.
It seems his wife can't believe he's playing on.
I'm not sure. However.
Charles, you haven't been sure since question number 2.
Well, as I said,
The mood in the production office is strangely flat.
Normally I probably would be quite excited that, you know, one of my contestants has won a lot of money. But because there had some doubt in my mind that something strange was going on, I don't think I could really sort of get enthusiastic about it, really.
You've got £500,000 in your hand. Nobody at all would blame you to walk away with that amount of money. It's a huge cheque. If you give me a wrong answer, you lose £468,000. You plunge back to 32,000. It is worth 1 million. A number 1 followed by 100 zeros is known by what name? Google. Megatron. Gigabit. Nanomole. It's worth £1 million sterling.
And again, the Major checks round the answers. One by one.
I think it's a nanomole. But it could be a gigabit.
And once again, if you listen carefully, the tapes reveal Tequin Whittock checking the answer.
God. I don't think it's a Megatron.
Whittock now has the £1 million answer.
And I have to say, I don't think I've heard of a Google.
But Whittock has.
Google.
I'm waiting for Tequin Whittock to cough at precisely the moment that the Major mentions the word Google. And the first time he mentions the word Google, cough, cough, gotcha. I'm also thinking during that process, which is almost completely the opposite of that, I'm thinking, don't you dare, I'll have you. I'm thinking that at the same time as I'm thinking, I want you to cough because I want to know that I'm right in what I've been in my suspicions.
Google. I mean, by process of elimination, I actually think it's Google, but I don't know what a Google is. So.
That's sort of how we got to Craig David.
Yeah, I know.
You went for it because you'd never ever heard of him.
I don't think it's gigabit, and I don't think it's nanomole. And I don't think it's Megatron.
He revisits all 4 to check the answer with Whittock a second time.
I really do think it's a Google.
But you thought it was a nanomole.
As Whittock coughs, it seems he's again under the watchful eye of the Major's wife.
It's not a gigabit, nanomole, and Megatron, and there's only 4 of them, so it must be Google. Mustn't it? I don't actually know what a Google is, but...
No wonder she seems worried.
I mean, it's the only chance I'll ever have of winning $1 million, but it's a hell of a
Charles,
downside.
it's also the only chance you'll ever have of losing £468,000. Let's just put that into the equation.
Yeah,
You've got $500,000. You're going for the one you've never heard of. Just because you haven't heard of it. I can't influence you, it's entirely your call, but you've got £500,000.
I mean, I don't mind taking the odd risk now and again.
His wife's not laughing, and again looks towards Whittock.
That was a joke, by the way.
It hasn't been a joke, you've been laughing for an hour.
He was about to answer the £1 million question, which means that he stands to win £1 million, but he also stands to lose, if he's wrong, £468,000. A tidy sum to anybody. And it became obvious that he wasn't under the pressure that he should have been somehow. It didn't make sense. He should have been very, very careful and very certain. And he certainly wasn't both of those, or either of those, I should say.
But Ingram's not gambling at all. He's been given the answer.
Okay, let's...
Take your time. Take as long as you need. You've got £500,000.
I mean, my strategy has worked so far. You know, just take it by the bit and go for it. I was defensive on the last show, and that, you know, very slowly got me somewhere, but you know, minus a lot of lifelines.
I missed quite a lot of the action of the questions between the 64 and I think about the £250,000 question, because the frantic phone calls were going on. But the fact that he was still there without actually knowing what was going on confirmed my suspicions. And certainly when watching the £1 million question, you know, my heart was pumping.
I came into the studio and I saw Adrian, and he asked me if I thought that there was anything suspicious going on. And I had been uneasy up until that point, and we basically discussed whether there was any possibility of cheating, whether he could have got hold of the questions beforehand, or whether his wife or he had any kind of device on them, or if indeed he was being helped by anyone else in the audience.
If you're wrong, you lose £468,000.
I don't think it's a gigabit.
Again, he checks round the answers.
I don't think it's an animal. Megatron, mega, yeah. I don't think it's Megatron. I'm sure it's Google.
And again, Whittock delivers.
Chris, I'm going to play. No, I'm not. Yes, I am.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm going to play. I am going to play. Yeah.
You do not have to play this question. There's nothing on my screen here. You do not have to play this. You've got £500,000.
After 3 separate coughs on the £1 million question, Ingram still wants one final signal.
£500,000. You lose £468,000 if you're wrong. I've got no answer on my screen. I'm just making you aware of exactly how you are. No one's ever lost £468,000.
God, don't.
No, it's a Google. Tell me it's a bloody Google. God, is it a Google? Yeah. Yeah, it's a Google. Yeah. Yeah.
Just catch me when I fall on the floor.
I think I know. I think it's a Google.
It's there.
I'm going to play Google. Yeah.
Final answer.
Final answer.
God.
Please don't go for a break. Please do not go for a break. Please don't. You're going to go for a break.
I'm going for a break.
Oh,
This is turning into an epic night. Join us again for the third part of tonight's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Do not go away.
You didn't have to go for a break.
In the break, as they wait to see if Charles Ingram's won $1 million, there's furious activity backstage. The head of Celador is called to see if the show should be stopped.
Nobody's ever lost £468,000.
No discussions these days, gentlemen. It's not fair.
I really am sure.
It's a serious amount of money at stake.
Yeah, just a bit.
Okay, come in now.
They said that they were on the commercial break and they were about to go back and say that the guy had won $1 million, but they were certain that there was some form of cheating going on. What should they do?
I called Paul and I said to him that I felt very strongly that he ought to come up to the studio that night. He initially was very dismissive.
And I said, well, what evidence do you have? And they said, well, just gut instinct. And I said, well, we can't stop a show and accuse someone on gut instinct. I said, you must go ahead and we will deal with it later.
Welcome back to the third nail-biting part of tonight's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Major Charles Ingram came on tonight with just £4,000. He only had one lifeline left. He got up to £500,000. He got this question. A number 1, followed by 100 zeros, is known by what name? Google, Megatron, Gigabit, Nanomole. He initially went for Nanomole. He then went through his various options again. He knew he would lose £468,000 if he was wrong. He then went for Google, mainly because he'd never heard of it and he'd heard of the other 3. Charles, give me that check. £500,000. You no longer have that. You just won £1 million! You are the most amazing contestant we've ever had.
The contestant who spotted the cheats isn't clapping.
Well, I'm just sitting there, glaring at Tequan Wittig, probably glaring at the Major as well. And my reaction is I can't believe that I seem to be the only person who's witnessed what I've seen. You know, am I the only one here who's seen this? Did I really see this? You know, what's going on here? Why has nobody else noticed what's happening here?
Tom Lucy, sitting opposite Larry, is equally unimpressed.
When the programme finished, I walked from here and I met my son coming down the stairs over there. And as he looked at me, he said, "He was at it, Dad." And I said, "Do you think so?" He said, "Definite."
When the Major won his £1 million, it was quite a strange atmosphere in here, because building up to that, there'd been a feeling of disbelief amongst the crew anyway, because we strongly suspected he was cheating. And then when he got to the £1 million, the atmosphere wasn't how it should be at all.
And I noticed that certain members of the crew, not all of them, but some of them weren't sure how to react because they were obviously had suspicions of their own. I noticed some of them were slow clapping and just looking at me, not really sure what to do. And I just basically said, "Come on, you know, we've got to maintain that this is a genuine win until we know otherwise."
I was there when Judith Keppel won her $1 million. And the whole production team, everybody was elated. It was a fantastic moment, especially having been with the show since the start. You know, you really want somebody to get there and you really want somebody to take that little step and do it. But because of the way that it appeared the Major had got to this point, as I say, everybody was just incredibly uncomfortable.
What a night! Absolutely incredible. Come on. I have no idea how you got there. Diana, you went to hell and back up there.
Sorry about that.
I was down just sort of offset where they sort of came off and hugged each other, and Diana was crying, but I mean I didn't totally believe that it was real tears. It sort of, to me, was a bit put on and seemed sort of a bit fake.
Wow! Yes. God, I can't believe it!
Literally, they'd walk down the steps from the edge of the set, and the way that it was put to them after congratulating them was that it was common practice with big winners that we search them for security reasons, and would they object to having such a search done?
I searched his clothing, I searched his hair, I even asked him to take his shoes off, and I found nothing.
And the feeling that I was left with at that time was incredibly disappointed, because my suspicions hadn't gone away. I was just left feeling, well, I don't quite understand what's gone on here.
After being searched, the Ingrams are taken to their dressing room, but rather than celebrating, have a huge row.
You
lucky.
Security guards sort of pointed out that there was sort of shouting coming from their dressing room. And their window was open, so, you know, as soon as he said that, we all sort of listened, and of course, you know, there was raised voices coming from there. And as the security guard sort of went a bit nearer to the window to see if he could hear what was being said, the window was slammed shut.
There was an atmosphere between the two of them in the dressing room when I was there, an atmosphere dominated by her, and the impression was that something was not as it should be, definitely.
Diana looked very sort of shaken and, I mean, just looked physically sort of just not very happy. And Charles was very tense. And at that point he had a cigar, so a lot of his attention was sort of looking down on the floor, playing with the ash in the ashtray, and just generally not saying very much at all.
These two people had just won £1 million. They should have been ecstatically happy. They should have wanted to speak to the children. They should have wanted to speak to the dog. They should have wanted to do something other than be as miserable as they seemed. And the atmosphere, in hindsight, and this is speculation, is that he had gone further than they had agreed that he would go. And as a result, he had possibly exposed himself to what has now happened, the trial and the subsequent decision of the jury.
That's the right order.
While the Ingrams are fighting, the man who claims his allergies made him cough
Tequin Whittock in 7.0
takes centre stage and gets into the hot seat immediately after Ingram.
Right, you want to play for £1 million? I certainly do. Computer, take away 2 wrong answers, leave Tequin the right answer.
His cough now gone, Whittock finds it's not so easy playing it straight.
Sweet pastries is still there. I haven't got a clue, so obviously I'll go with what Carol said. Sweet pastries.
Final answer.
Final answer.
You had £4,000. Tequin, you just lost £3,000.
As soon as the show's over, the team begin their search for evidence of cheating. That £1 million cheque can be cashed in 8 days' time.
I got into my car and went up to the studio centre. I said to them to keep the gallery, the truck powered up. Could they put all the tapes up for me and I would have a look at them.
We sat together and watched through the programmes. And to Paul's credit, I have to say, he did try and play devil's advocate with me. He tried to, as best he could, to refute each one of the coughs when I said, well, there, Paul, that one, there, that one. He would, do his best. As we got further up the money tree, he got quieter and quieter until we got to the £1 million question when he was silent and quite pale.
The police are called in and Paul Smith has to ring Charles Ingram to tell him he's not getting his million.
I have to tell you that we have suspicions from viewing the recording of last Monday's programme and subsequently studying the tapes carefully that there were irregularities during the taping of the show in which you participated.
Oh, good Lord, no.
Because of that, I have to tell you that these suspicions have been referred to the police.
Right.
And thus, we, not for the moment, will be airing the programme or indeed authorising payment of the cheque.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, I completely refute that, obviously. Good Lord, I'm absolutely gobsmacked. All right, well, thanks for letting me know.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers, bye.
What effectively I was saying was, you have cheated us of £1 million on our show. And I would have suspected that I would have, if I'd have been him in that situation, I would have said, hang on a minute, what are you talking about?
With that extraordinary call, the game's up for Charles and Diana Ingram and Tequin Whittock. The Major resorts to his favourite strategy, the counter-attack.
I did not cheat, if I can use that very firm expression to cover everything. I can't say that there wasn't coughing going on, but I did not either hear or use coughing as any form of mechanism for being able to answer those questions.
2 weeks ago, a jury convicted Charles Ingram, his wife Diana, and their accomplice Tequin Whittock of deception. The judge told them to give up any childish wishes they might have that they're entitled to the money. Their reputations ruined, branded cheats and liars. They risked everything to con their way to £1 million and lost it all.
Why do you whisper green grass? Why tell the trees what ain't so? Whispering grass, the trees don't have to know. No, no. Why tell them all your secrets? Who kissed there long ago? Whispering grass, don't tell the trees, 'cause the trees don't need to know.
Now don't you tell it to the breeze, 'cause she'll run and tell it to the birds and bees. And everyone will know, because you done told the blabbing trees.
Why tell them all the old...
Over on ITV2 next, you can witness the Major's complete performance on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire as he tries to cheat his way to £1 million. Stay with us here for the ITV News.
'Cause the trees don't